move. And the water is over here, and then we have a little pier, and we have wonderful hills. Now, I've painted this to show you already, and the main structure is this vertical line. And earlier on, I started this sketch, and I'm just going to come back in on this right now. I began the sketch with the vertical trees, and I'm going to just emphasize these a little bit more and do this like that. And you'll see that this is the center of interest. There's a number of trees that are overlapped. And again, the artist has to be very selective. You cannot do all of them. If you try to do all of them, it's just going to be a confusion. It'll be too much. But if you choose the one closest to you and you get the shadows in, and again, the strength of the cast shadow coming this direction, and then the shading on the tree. The shading is on the object, and the shadow is what is cast. And the artist in this initial stage works pretty quickly. You want to stay inspired to get the mood, get the feeling of what you're doing. You don't want to lose the momentum that drew you to the subject in the first place. Over here, we have the horizon line, and I'm going to emphasize it a little bit more, breaking it up here and there, and the hills are in behind. The cast shadows, there's actually a pier, and I think you could see the pier is going to be kind of in this area. It's a wonderful little pier, and at times there are boats. They don't allow sailing on this river, which is really sad because I love the sails, the beautiful white against the background. They have other kinds of little boats. I think I'm going to go ahead and put a sailboat in here. Maybe not. Well, we'll see how it comes later. I won't make a commitment to that yet. But there's a little pier and a little house on that pier, just like this. And then I want to shade these hills, because with the cast shadow and the light coming back, these hills, all the trees in here are going to be silhouetted. So I'm going to just indicate that for right now. And I'm using a dark double E pencil so that you can see how this comes to life. Normally I sketch with a 2B on a good piece of watercolor paper, the D Arches paper, but this is just a drawing sketch pad. So you could use anything you want, because it's not going to be a painted picture, it's going to be a sketch. It remains a sketch. And sometimes a sketch becomes an actual drawing, and it's worthy of its, in its own self, as something that stands in itself as a work of art. So the trees are indicated, the cast shadows of the trees. I actually don't want to do that with pencil. A little bit of paint like this, because it'll look better. I don't want to put pencil mark down over the top of that watercolor. Okay. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go. That looks good. And then the pier is going to cast shadow. Oh, this is going to be so fun. See the cast shadows under the pier? There's so many subjects out there at the river. Oh my goodness. You could just turn 1 degree and have another painting all the way through. For me, I spent a long time deciding which would be the best first subject for my students this summer. And when we get together in August for real, we'll go down here on the spot and we'll paint the subject again. But we're going to start today with the lesson, and then you'll have that all ready for yourself when you come together in August. And I'm so looking forward to that time. It's not a lot of fun to be alone. I've spent a good deal of time alone here in the last several weeks, and it's been a little bit harder to get excited. But here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of this in here. You can see cast shadows coming down from the mountain as well. All right. And that could be enough for this first thing. And let's remind you of the various brushes that you need to be sure to have for our next session. I'm going to show you again. This is the John Pike palette, and I won't go back over the colors. I'll do that again next week. But it is a wonderful palette. It's large enough with a thinking area for the artist. And the brushes that you will need to check on will be a hockey brush, will be a 1/4 inch flat, and definitely a 1 inch flat like this. And then you're going to want a round, probably a number 12. And this is your number 12. Very good brush. And I would suggest that you have a variety of smaller brushes. I also like to add to that the rigger and the little round small for details. Larger with your sketches, and don't get too detailed. Start large and then let the details come later. I love to use these brushes actually when we're doing the leaves for the final thing. I just like to kind of lay in my brush this way and just kind of do that. For this sketch, all I'm doing is remembering the way it is. And oh, I don't use the green. I use blue and yellow because I can adjust it between the warm and the cool, and it makes a much better painting. The greens that they have oftentimes are too harsh and they don't suit my palette. I use Viridian green only if it is an isolated color just for one place or one spot. So this gives a suggestion of the trees, and in the finished painting up here, you can see I just did a little bit. You don't do it all. From the sketch, you can see over here in the split screen we have, you can see the photograph, which show a lot of foliage, and it's very difficult to paint. It's a little easier when it's silhouetted like that. Over here, behind this painting, there is a sample of Tubbs Hill and the trees that were done very quickly, actually, with, again, blue and with yellow.